Congratulations to all the exhibitors at the Kern County Virtual Fair this year. I'm very excited to be here and judge the show and do the reasons for you today. In our first class, I think we've got a beautiful heifer to start off the class, a heifer that just uses her advantage in overall style and balance to place over the rest of the heifers. She's a heifer that's much higher in her chine, she's fuller in her crops, deeper in her heart girth, wider in her chest floor, and has more depth, spring, and openness than the rest of the heifers in the class. In second over third, another heifer that follows that pattern, just having a great style and balance about her, and she uses her advantage in front end and frame to place over the heifer in third. She's just blends more smoothly from part to part. She's higher in her chine, fuller in her crops, and additionally, I think just has a little less set to her hock today than the beautiful stylish heifer coming along in third. Third over fourth, it is that advantage in dairiness that she has. She's longer and cleaner through her head and neck. She's sharper over her withers. She's more refined down through her rib structure today. And additionally, I prefer the way she handles her rear feet and legs than the balanced white heifer coming along in fifth. Fifth over sixth, it is again that advantage in dairiness. A heifer that's much cleaner up through her head and neck, longer through her head and neck. A heifer that has much more cleanliness all the way throughout. She's more angular about her rib structure today. She carries less condition, especially over her hips, pins, and thirls, and down through her thigh. I do admit that the fifth place heifer is a heifer that's much taller and wider all the way throughout. Fifth over sixth, it's just the way she handles her rear feet and legs today. A heifer that tracks straighter on her rear feet and legs. She has less set to the hock, and I prefer the way she steps down on a stronger pastern complemented by a shorter toe. I do admit that the sixth place heifer is more clean cut and refined all the way throughout. Sixth over seventh, again, it is that advantage in dairiness. A heifer that's much more clean cut up through her head and neck. She shows more femininity through her head and neck. She carries less condition through her front end and back through her hips, pins, and thirls. And is less incurving in her thigh today. I do admit that the red heifer does track straighter on her rear feet and legs, and she uses that advantage in feet and legs to place over the black heifer in eighth. She tracks straighter on those rear feet and legs. She keeps her legs placed more squarely underneath her, and I prefer the low pins on the red heifer over the black heifer. Eighth over ninth, primarily on her advantage in frame. A heifer that's harder down her top line. She's stronger in her loin, and her tailhead sets much more neatly between the pins today than the strong white heifer coming along in ninth. Ninth over 10th, it is that advantage in strength that she has. She's much wider in her muzzle, wider on her chest floor. She has more overall power all the way throughout than the beautiful dairy heifer coming along in 10th. 10th just doesn't quite have the strength overall or the correctness to her rump structure to merit a higher placing today. Congratulations to all the exhibitors. Thank you. Congratulations to our exhibitors in our second class, another great class from top to bottom, and I think we've got a tremendous heifer to start off the class today, a heifer that just wins the class using her advantage in overall style and balance and correctness from part to part. She places over the heifer in second today using her advantage in length all the way throughout. She's longer through her head and neck, she's more upstanding in her front end, and she has more depth, spring, and openness to both fore and rear rib. I also prefer the way she handles her rear feet and legs, tracking straighter and having less and being cleaner about her hock. Second over third today, another heifer that follows that pattern of having a great front end and having balance all the way throughout. She uses that advantage in front end to place over the heifer in third. She's more upstanding in her front end, she's wider in her chest floor, she's harder down her top line, and especially neater about her tailhead setting than the deep black heifer coming along in third. Third over fourth, using her advantage in feet and legs today, being tracking much straighter on her rear feet and legs and having less set to the hock today. Additionally, she's stronger in her pastern and shorter in her toe. I admit the speckled heifer keeps it a close placing, being much more clean cut and refined all the way throughout. It is that advantage in dairiness that places her over the Jersey coming along in fifth. She's much longer, cleaner, and more feminine through her head and neck. She's sharper over her withers, more refined and open in her ribs today, and especially less patchy about her hips, pins, and thirls, and more incurving down through her thigh. Fifth over sixth, a heifer that just has a major advantage in front end today. She's wider in her chest floor, more upstanding in her front end. She has more balance and power through her front end, tracking especially straighter on those front legs today. Additionally, she has more slope to her rump, noting the high pins on the black heifer, and tracks straighter on those rear feet and legs. Sixth over seventh, heifer that has an advantage in dairiness today. She's cleaner and more feminine about her head and neck. She's sharper over her withers, more refined, open in those rib structure today, and especially more angular throughout. I admit that the seventh place heifer keeps it a close placing, handling those rear feet and legs better than the black heifer. Seventh over eighth, a heifer that's just more correct from part to part. She's stronger in her front end, tracks straighter on those front legs, is wider in her chest floor. She's fuller in her crops and higher in her chine today than the deep-bodied heifer coming along in eighth. Eighth over ninth, a heifer that just has more capacity all the way throughout. She's has more depth, spring, and openness to both fore and rear rib, and I prefer the correctness in her rump structure than the dairy heifer coming along in ninth. The heifer in ninth has great angularity all the way throughout, but I need to see more overall capacity and size and scale to merit a higher placing today. Congratulations to all the exhibitors. Well, congratulations again to all of our exhibitors here for our championship reasons. I just wanted to, again, congratulate all the exhibitors. I know how much work was put into this. I know it's a little different doing it in a video form this year, but I think everyone did a fantastic job, and the heifers really looked great. With that, for me, I really compared the winners of both the classes for champion and reserve. And for me, the champion heifer today is going to be the Jersey heifer from class 2. I think a heifer that's just the most correct from part to part. And really, when you compare her to the red heifer, who will be your reserve champion from class 1, I think a heifer that's just more correct in her rear feet and legs. She has less set to the hock. She tracks a little bit straighter on those rear feet and legs today. I think additionally a heifer that's just a little bit more stylish through her rump today. She's flatter across her rump. Her tail head sets more neatly between the pins today. But two really, really strong heifers. I really admire the front ends on both of these heifers. Again, I think that red heifer just has tremendous depth, style, and balance all the way throughout. But again, thank you very much for having me judge your show, and congratulations to all the exhibitors. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.